I think it is possible, it is very plausible, people, that there may not be another election. If things go the way they're going, it's very possible that Obama may be the plan of the elite. It may be their plan to have Obama be their sitting Pharaoh. It seems to me that that's what he is anyway. He's a Pharaoh. He's a dictator. And it could be that this has been their plan all along, is to have a Pharaoh over America, leading them into the new age, into a new world order. I never saw this before, never even thought about this before, but I'm not sure if the Lord's giving me this insight or not, but I don't know. I have a hard time believing that either Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton could ever be the president of the United States. It's hard to grasp that, to see either one of them being in that position. But if you know anything about America and how it has its roots in Egypt and Babylon and esoteric teachings, the Masons go back to Egypt and Babylon. These masters, these architects of the New World Order, it's all about Egypt and Babylon. Because just look at your dollar bill. You see the pyramid on the dollar bill. Well, we know the pyramids come from Egypt. That's Egyptian, right? And George Bush Jr. talked about the order of the ages. That this ancient hope that is meant to be fulfilled. And we could see how chummy George Bush Jr. was with Obama. How chummy he's been with him. And it makes you wonder if all along that Obama was going to be the last president and going to become the Pharaoh over the new America. It makes you wonder if that's been the elite's plan all along. It makes sense. They've got the pyramid. That's the Pentagon. The Pentagon's their pyramid. They've got the sundial there with the pyramid. The sundial is the Washington Monument. And you're seeing Hollywood being taken over by Egyptian relics. You're seeing it filling the land of America right now, Egyptian and Babylon in the music industry and everything. And, the America, those that voted for Obama, they hail him as a pharaoh. They just don't come out and call him a pharaoh, but they do. After all the terrible, bad things that he's brought through his administration in the last 8 years, they still are mesmerized by this guy. They still become gaga over him. The men as well as the women. And he is, totally, completely for homosexuality, lesbian, this LGBT agenda. Now, I understand that if martial law is enacted, I know that it suspends the Constitution, but I also know that the military take over. That's what martial law is. So, in order for Obama to be in control, that would not be martial law, because martial law doesn't put the president in control, it puts the military in control. And maybe that's why Obama has been tirelessly removing generals in the military, removing leadership positions and replacing them. I wouldn't say a coup. I wouldn't say a coup is in progress. of the military coup of the government. I wouldn't say that, but I would say something even more sinister is taking place. Something even more darker than that. The ancient hope that George Bush Jr. was talking about, that is meant to be fulfilled. And did you know in Egypt they had what was called the White House? Did you know that? They had a White House in Egypt. Now, whether that was inside a pyramid, I have to do more research on that, but I remember finding the word White House had to do with Egypt. So you got the White House, and then you got the sundial, the male phallus, the sundial, and then you have the pyramid, which is the Pentagon, the CIA, the Central Intelligence. And listen, people, this has to do with time. Because the pyramid and the sundial is how they would tell time in Egypt. And they would use the sun. That was their solar clock. That's how they would tell time in Egypt. They would watch the shadow that was cast on the ground from the sundial that was cast on the ground. And they would use the pyramid as the clock. Not only that, but they used the pyramid for stargazing. And it makes me wonder if the first pyramid ever built, was actually the Tower of Babel. It makes me wonder that. Was the first pyramid actually, was it a Tower of Babel? Was that the tower that they were building? And then when God confounded their language, they went on. Is it possible they got together in small groups again, started building their towers again? And that's where all these pyramids come from. Every time they started to rebuild another tower, or another tower, I should say, or a pyramid, then God would come and he would confound them again, and then he would stop them again, and he constantly was stopping them from doing this. Not because God's this mean God, but because God knows that they would continue into more ungodliness, more filthiness, more vileness. And he was, in his mercy, he was stopping them. Because if you notice the top of all these towers, these buildings that are being built, there's pyramids at the top. Did you ever notice that? And if you look up the word tower in the scripture, it's the word podium, or rostrum. It's where we get the word pulpit from. A voice, a message. And isn't it interesting, Donald Trump, the Trump Tower, and now he's standing, with a voice to be the President of the United States. But we're watching Babylon and Egypt taking over completely the United States of America. It makes sense to me that Obama could sit as the Pharaoh over America. I'd certainly like to hear your thoughts on this, what you think. Leave your comments below, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed. God bless you.